The season started out west in the Coors Light Classic at Fresno, California. But in the opener, the Bears encountered the L Train, College Player of the Year Lionel Simmons of LaSalle. Still, paced by 19 points from newcomer Darrell Reed, the Bears led through much of the second half and had the ball with a tie score in the final minute when they got a 10-second call in backcourt while trying to call timeout.
Arnold Bernard did not get the 10-second barrier beaten, and you could have seen the shot clocks. It was 33 on the clock.
But what they're claiming now, Tom, is that the Bears called timeout. They're talking to one of the officials.
LaSalle made 4 free throws in the last 42 seconds and won by 4.
10 seconds. It's win or lose right here. Bernard drives the lane. Shot is up. No good. Jeff Ford taps it up. No good. Rebound with 2 seconds to go.
Relegated to the third-place game, the Bears jumped out to an 11-2 lead over St. Mary's, a 25-game winner and conference champion from the previous year. But both teams struggled offensively all night. SMSU was never threatened and took advantage of 27% St. Mary's shooting to win 52-35, the lowest point total allowed by the Bears in 5 years. Chris Stang led the scoring with 16 points. Back closer to home, this still new team with 4 new starters came into its own on a Saturday night in Tulsa. Taking on a preseason co-favorite in the Missouri Valley Conference, the Bears tied a school record by raining down 8 three-pointers on the heads of the Golden Hurricanes.
Reed for 3. Southwest Missouri just red hot from outside.
Reed was 5 for 5 from three-point range. SMSU led by as many as 15 in the second half and won by 7. They had beaten Tulsa for the second year in a row. Then it was time to head home. The 1990 Bears were a much different group than past spoonball teams. They returned only 1 starter and had only 1 other player with much Division I experience. Picked 2nd or even 3rd in the conference, this squad pulled together and far exceeded those expectations. Early December, and the Bears hosted the 3rd annual Mazzio's Pizza Classic. On opening night, they routed a Southern Utah team that would be one of only 2 clubs to beat Xavier before the Sweet 16 of the NCAA. Lee Campbell, a 6th man on the 1989 Bears, showed the stuff that would put him among the nation's top 5 rebounders as he pulled down 20 boards. And the A-Train, 5'5" point guard Arnold Bernard, handed out 10 assists. The next night, against defending Missouri Valley Conference champion Creighton, Reed scored 27 and Bernard tossed in 16. The Bears win a nail-biter to claim the tournament title and advance their record to 4-2. 4 nights later, it was a lost 20 minutes in Jonesboro, Arkansas, as SMSU fell 14 points behind Arkansas State at the half. But this game was part of the maturing process for the team. In the second half, Jeff Ford checked in with evidence of his talents. The Bears came from behind to briefly take the lead in the last 3 minutes, but the Indians fought back to win by 4. Still, an important ingredient had been added. The Bears coasted to easy victories over Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman and hosted Wyoming on the afternoon of December 23rd. Who could forget Hubert Henderson's buzzer basket in snowy Laramie a year earlier to beat the Cowboys? The Bears expected another close game. They didn't get it. It was a rout from start to finish, the Bears winning both halves by 13 points and had the Cowpokes circling the wagons as 77-51 losers. The win put SMSU's home record for the decade of the 80s exactly 100 games over 500. And this year, the record at Christmas stood at 7-3. The turn of the decade saw the first major changes in the Bears coaching staff in Charlie Spoonhour's 7 years at the helm. Gone were 6-year assistants John Hammond and Dennis Hill. Hammond to the pros and Hill to a college head coaching job. New to the staff were Mark Burnson, a veteran junior college coach coming to SMSU after 4 years as an assistant at Murray State, and former Bears player Scott Hickox, who graduated from SMS in 1987. Another former Bear standout, Randy Stang, was promoted from part-time assistant to full-time. They proved to be a winning combination.
Here goes Brewer. Into the chin.
The 90s began in exciting fashion.
That'll do wonders for your confidence.
A pulse-pounding game before a packed house against an in-state rival. The Bears were in search of their 3rd straight win against St. Louis University, an eventual NIT finalist for the 2nd year in a row. Playing head-up against the eventual national rebounding champion Anthony Bonner, Lee Campbell outboarded Bonner 19-18, but the game was close throughout. Tied at halftime, forced into overtime by the Billikens, who then appeared to have the momentum.
Newberry ties it with 4 seconds. Bears get timeout with 3.
But Darrell Reed, who finished with 26 points, hit a 3-pointer early in the overtime.
Reed from 3. Bang! First 3 of the night.
And the Bears escaped the charged atmosphere of Kiel Auditorium with an 84-75 victory. Then it was time to make amends for a poor December showing at Wichita State. And it happened in a big way before the first of 4 standing room-only crowds at Hammond Student Center.
Cole not ready for it. Jeff Ford can make it happen, and now Reed with the steal at the defensive end. A-Train. 10-2, Southwest Missouri State. Gonna get a timeout, Art. Whoa. We've been a lot of places, and this is the noisiest place we go. The magic of the temple is at work.
Former Kentucky coach Joe B. Hall was on hand to help with the TV commentary. And he was impressed by Charlie's Bears.
I think I'd like to bring the Kentucky Wildcats in here and play Coach Spoonhour's band.
Ford was at his best all night, dunking and stealing and shooting. He and Reed had 20 points apiece, and the personality of the team was really taking shape. This faster-paced SMSU squad looking for the fast break and scoring in all kinds of ways. Spoon cleared the bench as Wichita State fell by the same 77-51 score as had Wyoming 2 weeks earlier. But conference play opened on a downer, a disappointing 5-point loss at Illinois Chicago, and faced with a game against contender Wisconsin Green Bay on the same trip, the team needed to quickly regroup. But somehow, the Brown County Arena has always provided the Bears with that opportunity. Phoenix coach Dick Bennett couldn't watch as the Bears played their usual flawless game in Green Bay, winning there by double figures for the 4th straight year, and overall sliding their way to their 14th straight decision over the Phoenix. Campbell dominated the boards with 19 rebounds, but Reed was smoking, a career-high 32 points, in overshadowing the 25 by Green Bay's Tony Bennett. It was after the 1989 basketball banquet that Spoonhour first met Reed and Bernard. Where the 1990 Bears would have been without them is scary to consider. But with the dynamic duo, the SMSU backcourt had rebuilt, reloaded, and was set to repeat as conference champs. Back home, the Bears had a battle on their hands with pesky Valparaiso, and the lead seesawed through most of the first half before the home forces built an 8-point halftime lead. thanks to 56% shooting and only 8 turnovers, SMSU pulled away to a 17-point victory. Then came Cleveland State, the arch rival in its final year of NCAA probation and ineligible for the conference championship. The self-styled bad guys, the Raiders of the AMQ, and the Vikings always save their best for the Bears. The Stars came out to Hammonds, from the Bears' first fan to the Kansas City Royals caravan, and they witnessed history as Lee Campbell had the first 30-point, 20-rebound game in the history of the Mid-Continent Conference. But it wasn't enough, as the fired-up Vikings overcame Campbell's play and Bernard's season-high 24 points and stunned the Bears 89-86. 5 nights later, conference opponent Eastern Illinois was the next thing in the path of the Bears, and the Panthers paid the price. It was a raucous Saturday night at the Temple of Doom, and the game was over in the first 8 minutes as SMSU jumped out to a 20-5 lead. The margin was as much as 40 in the second half, Campbell leading the way with 25 points, and 10 Bears scored in an 88-55 victory. A subsequent non-conference win over UMKC left the Bears at 13-5, 3-1 in league play, with a make-or-break 2-game road swing coming to start the month of February. Northern Iowa's Unidome was the site, as the 3-time defending league champion Bears faced the heir apparent, the preseason pick to dethrone them. But the more things changed, the more they stayed the same.
Jason Reese has it slapped away by Campbell, his 3rd block of the night.
The Bears shot 71% from the floor in the first half to race out to a 13-point lead at intermission. SMSU held the Panthers to just 28 first-half points and neutralized their guards and their forwards. In the second half, Dale Turner would catch fire and try to lead Eldon Miller's club back. But still, SMS built the lead to as many as 21 points, then withstood a late Northern Iowa charge to win by 10. 2 nights later, they would wallop league-leading Western Illinois by 15 in Macomb. In the span of 48 hours, at the midpoint of the conference race, the Bears had virtually ended it. They stood 5-1 in league play with only 2 road games remaining. Back home, the biggest Hammonds crowd of the year and 9th largest ever turned out for the execution of Illinois-Chicago. This one was over early too, as the Bears made 77% of their first half shots and led by 25 at the midway point. The lead would build to as much as 40 in the second half, as all 11 varsity players saw at least 11 minutes of playing time. Bernard handed out his average of 7 assists. Lovelace Redmond benefiting here. Ford made 5 of 6 shots, including his only 3-point try. Campbell was perfect in 7 field goal attempts. Reed was 7 for 8. Fred Johnson and Chris Harville got in on the scoring, and the Bears demolished the Flames 77-50 to go to 16-5. The middle game of the 3-game mid-February homestand did not follow the same script.
I'll tell you, this is going to be hard. It's going to take a long time to get done. Get it done. Hand up on the shot. Make it harder for him to watch. Let's go.
Green Bay was looking to end its 6-year losing streak against the Bears and playing its usual superb half-court game, led by 1 at halftime. The only other time during the home season the Bears trailed at the half was in the loss to Cleveland State. But thanks to Campbell's rebounding dominance with 14 and a fine reserve effort from Dave Brewer, 12 points and 10 boards, the Bears were able to muscle their way past the disciplined squad from Wisconsin and win by 11 to run their winning streak to 6. The victory was Charlie Spoonhour's 100th in the Temple of Doom against 14 losses. A 20-point home court blowout of Western Illinois and an easy win at Valparaiso ran the string to 8 straight, the record to 19-5. And by the time they arrived in Cleveland for the return match with the Vikings, a 4th straight conference championship had already been won. The team had come together in stages. The second half comeback at Arkansas State, the emotional overtime win at St. Louis, and battle-tested with the crucial two-game road sweep of Northern Iowa and Western Illinois. But it had come together on the court partly as a result of its togetherness off the court. And on the Cleveland State trip, it wasn't all business.
I received a video camera for Christmas. The team's a lot different off the court than they are on the court. A lot of little things you don't see about the players goes on. Some of the things that go on in the hotel, you know, you just wouldn't believe. Doors banging into people's heads. We're calling our names.
Ow. Where are we going first? Oh, we're going to Cleveland. Oh. God. What's that? That's a rabbit.
Antics like singing and dancing.
Get Big D. There's D. Look at D. Get down. D. Get Big D, man. Go that way. D.
All kinds of stuff like that occurs.
Yeah, where are you from? Millard?
Millard South.
Is that a high
That's
school?
in Omaha, Nebraska, yes.
What are y'all, the Millards?
By the way, we beat Columbus in the state finals last year.
What do you think of that, George? I did. This is my neighbor. Her name is... It was real funny until we put it on YouTube. Don't worry, it's not going.
I think the videos pretty much speak for themselves.
But there was some unfinished business afoot on the shores of Lake Erie. The Bears were one win away from their 5th straight 20-victory season. Charlie Spoonhour's next win would be his 150th at SMSU. Most importantly, the Bears had lost to Cleveland State 4 straight times, and they were determined it wasn't going to happen again, conference game or not. It was a game of wild swings. Bears out of the gate well, up by 10 early, only to fall behind by 1 at the half. They trailed through most of the second half, down 7 with 9 minutes to play, when Arnold Bernard ignited the comeback. Just as he had at Valpo with 18 second-half points, the A-Train took over the game down the stretch in Cleveland, handing out assists, hitting free throws, and getting the ball to Reed, who made 11 of 12 foul shots. Victory number 20 came at Woodland Gym, where the Bears had only won one previous time by an 84-73 score.
We just came back with a victory.
From where?
Cleveland State.
Home of? The Vikings.
The Vikings.
How many did you get tonight?
14.
I heard you had a bad night shooting.
It wasn't too bad.
How many did you miss?
We are trying to win the Amity with our next 2 games.
We've already run it, Coach.
We haven't run it, we're trying to win it, okay? It's easy for you to say. Brought you ruck.
That is my favorite coach right there. I really admire him. He really knows the game of basketball.
Thanks for joining us, and good night from Cleveland.
The following Saturday, a letdown was almost inevitable at Eastern Illinois. The conference and the 20-win season were assured. The Bears had avenged 3 of their 5 losses. And they were playing a 6th-place team they'd beaten by 33 less than a month earlier. They fell behind 20-9, but seemed to have things in hand with a 13-point lead early in the second half. Then, Eastern went on a run of 20 unanswered points and seized a 53-46 lead. SMSU righted itself at that point, and incredibly, for the 2nd year in a row in Charleston, it came down to a shot in the final minute. Lovelace Getty Redmond, the junior college transfer forced to sit out the preceding year with a broken wrist, did for the Bears what Henderson had done in '89, beat Eastern in the final seconds in Charleston. March 1st, and the Bears were back at the Temple for their final home game of the season. The conference tournament the following week would be at Northern Iowa, and ironically, it was the Panthers who made this invasion on a warm night. It was a war as the officials let them play, and did Northern Iowa's Jason Reese play. He fired home a career-high 38 points, the most the Bears had allowed an individual since Kansas' Danny Manning sent them home from the 1987 NCAA Tournament with 42. But the Bears had all 4 guns blazing. Ford played a spectacular first half and finished with 15 points. A-Train had 16 and 12 assists. Campbell and Reed had 28 points apiece, and Lee added 18 rebounds. But at the end of regulation time, the Panthers threw one in to force it into overtime. And after the Bears had a potential game-ending rebound, they turned it over, and UNI did it again to send it into a second extra period. Finally, it came down to Reed's three-pointers and Bernard's free throws, and the Bears outlasted the Panthers 94-86. The winning streak stood at 11, and SMSU took a 22-5 record to the conference tournament in Cedar Falls. On opening night in the MQ tournament, the Bears weren't even in town, receiving a first-round bye as regular season champs. The hosts almost weren't around for the second night. Illinois-Chicago took Northern Iowa through 3 overtimes before losing all 5 starters to fouls. That set up the 3rd meeting of the year between the Bears and the Panthers in the tournament semifinals. And it was a frustrating first half for SMSU as they shot poorly and went in tied at 23. Down the stretch, the Bears pulled away, holding Reese well in check and building an 8-point lead with 2:14 remaining. But they couldn't put it away. A traveling call, a charging call, a missed front end of a 1-and-1, and another traveling call of considerable doubt gave UNI the ball with 2 seconds to play. The game now tied. They had to throw the ball the length of the floor. A moment in time, but a measure of college athletics at its highest and finest. The competitor, the warrior, the leader, the chairman of the boards. Lee Campbell was the heart and soul of the 1990 championship Bears. Northern Iowa's victory over Green Bay in the tournament finals gave the Panthers the MQ's automatic bid to the NCAA Tournament and left the Bears on the proverbial bubble. Their power ranking had been in the 20s during the latter part of the season and was number 32 after their defeat. But the Mid-Continent had never, in its 8-year history, had 2 teams invited to the big show in the same year. And the extended SMSU family was on pins and needles throughout the remainder of championship week, following each of the conference tournaments with more than the usual amount of interest.
The NCAA Tournament selection shows.
The day of reckoning came on Sunday, March 11th, and the word was...
We'll play against the 9th seed.
A 4th straight trip to the NCAA, and a date in Austin, Texas, with college basketball's winningest team over the past 20 years, North Carolina, and its legendary coach, Dean Smith. A mix-up in accommodations resulted in the team being bumped from a crowded airport hotel to a secluded resort, home of the Liberty Mutual Legends of Golf tournament. Austin is the capital of Texas, and it does represent the diversity of this most diverse of states. But it sits in the heart of the hill country, an area of rolling hills and springs and streams. It's the home area of Willie Nelson, President Lyndon Johnson, and the University of Texas, host of the 1990 Midwest Sub-Regional at the Irwin Center.
The Bears of Southwest Missouri and the Tar Heels of North Carolina.
Like their 1988 NCAA game against UNLV, the Bears came out guns blazing against Carolina, building an early 11-4 lead and overcoming any thoughts of nervousness against a team that is synonymous with college basketball.
This Southwest Missouri team is off to a good start against an outstanding Carolina ball club.
The first half was played at a frenzied pace, Carolina challenging the Bears to shoot over its zone, and Jeff Ford answering with 4 3-pointers. North Carolina clung to a 1-point lead at the half, 41-40. The early moments of the second half were a continuation of the same, and the Bears took a 3-point lead and had the ball 5 minutes past intermission when Ford quickly drew his 3rd and 4th fouls. Like the Kansas game of the 1987 tournament, SMSU was playing a smart, well-coached opponent that would press its height and size advantage to the ultimate. 6'11" center Scott Williams would dominate, and with the Tar Heels leading by only 66-63 and 5 minutes to play, Rick Fox would nail a 3, and the Bears were never again closer than 6. North Carolina would advance to the Sweet 16 for the 10th straight year. Career win number 687 for Dean Smith. The loss to North Carolina also brought to an end the careers of 5 SMSU seniors. Chris Harville played on 4 Mid-Continent Conference title winners in his 4 years at SMSU. Fred Johnson supplied inside muscle off the bench in his 2 years with the Bears after a high school career that saw him become the all-time leading scorer in Missouri history. Jeff Ford, who sat out a year and a half as a transfer to play 1 season at SMSU, made the most of it with an 11-point average and the top free throw percentage on the squad. Chris Stang, a 2-year starter and also a member of 4 conference championship teams, was a 2-time academic all-conference selection. And Lee Campbell, chosen as Player of the Year in the AMQ his senior year. He set school and conference records in field goal percentage for a season and a career, and ranked among the top 5 rebounders in the nation. Campbell was joined on the all-conference first team by Darrell Reed, who was named AMQ Newcomer of the Year. Arnold Bernard, who led the league in assists, was second team all-conference. The North Carolina game would be the last played by the Bears as members of the Association of Mid-Continent Universities. The day after the AMQ tournament, in fact, SMSU was announced as the newest member of the Missouri Valley Conference, the oldest athletic league west of the Mississippi, dating back to 1908.
And after going over all these things, having discussed them fully and looking at the record compiled by Southwest Missouri State, not just within their own conference, but the national record that they have compiled, both academically and athletically. The presidents at the Pepsi Missouri Valley Conference basketball tournament voted unanimously to accept Southwest Missouri into the Missouri Valley Conference. And I think it is a great tribute to the work that has been done here by your president, by your faculty, and by your coaching staff, that Southwest Missouri State is a prize school, and we are happy to have them in the Missouri Valley.
And SMSU President Marshall Gordon accepted the invitation.
Again, on behalf of the university and its many friends, we accept the invitation to become a member of the Missouri Valley. Look forward to working with all of you to making it the very best that we can.
This is very, just a great day for our school and for all of our athletic program. I think that the association that we will have now just is just a wonderful thing for us. I probably can tell you that seven years ago, the things that we had and the dreams and the goals, we hoped that we would be associated someday. We felt that this was a natural association with the Missouri Valley Conference, and we only hoped that that would happen.
SMS leads the Mid-Continent, having won the last 4 conference championships, and as the only team to finish in the first division every year in the 8-year history of the league. The Bears won 29 conference titles in 6 sports during that 8-year span, dominating play in baseball, swimming, and tennis, in addition to basketball. But it's on to the Missouri Valley, joining such prestigious Midwestern institutions as Wichita State, Tulsa, Creighton, Drake, Bradley, Illinois State, Indiana State, and Southern Illinois, schools that through the years have made 37 appearances in the NCAA, including 5 Final Fours, and 45 appearances in the NIT with 6 championships. In the span of 9 years, SMSU had gone from a regional university playing top-notch Division II basketball to a statewide institution with membership in a highly regarded Division I conference.
I think it's appropriate at this time to start things off on the right foot and ask the Southwest Missouri State folks to put on their hats for the first time.
With the boost of the move to the Valley, they're hopeful that the 90s will see the March Madness continue and take them farther down the road to the Final Four.
Looks good.